What's up, YouTube? This is going to be a therapy session with myself. Oh man, where to even start? So, I feel like I'm in this weird kind of purgatory, kind of limbo, where I'm noticing my own patterns of the way that I treat people and the way that I treat myself. I'm trying to find this balance between myself as a spiritual person desiring enlightenment to serve God and humanity, to be lifted by the universe, and to be in this flow of, they call it the mode of goodness in India. It's kind of a philosophy. There's three modes: there's a mode of goodness, there's a mode of passion, and there's a mode of suffering. And for a lot of my life, I was in the mode of suffering and passion, occasionally maybe feeling that goodness in Taoism. That I think that's what you'd call the Tao or the Holy Spirit. It's this divine almost vibration where everything seems to be flowing almost like spontaneously or miraculously, feeling generally a lot of well-being and you know, inner peace or happiness or whatever. I've experienced that, but I also experienced a lot of suffering. And I guess I'm having like a midlife crisis, about to turn 35. It's just weird. I don't feel like I'm 30, 35 at all. I still feel like I'm pretty young, but, you know, it's all just kind of weird. So I feel like what's been happening in my life is like repeating cycles. I'm just going to talk as though I'm talking to a therapist because I don't really expect anybody to watch this. I have this feeling of like, nobody cares about my content. Nobody watches me. It's so hard. You got to learn how to hook people in the first 7 seconds, and it's all just this weird formula of getting attention. I guess in a way it is, but my spiritual awakening happened here in Austin, Texas, as I'm actually getting ready to leave. I've been wanting to move to Asia and do this digital nomad coaching, digital marketing thing. I don't honestly know if I'm going to hit that goal or not. I'm going to try. I'm not going to give up, but I have had a tendency to set unrealistic goals in an unrealistic timeline. And I was trying a strategy out that didn't really work and it failed, or it was very limited. But it took me to understand a next strategy. So I feel like maybe I'm just purging some of this energy right now. It was my spiritual awakening, but it was also my greatest suffering. I was 20 years old. This was like literally 14 years ago. And I felt just kind of like dead inside. And I'm feeling that kind of energy coming back. Like, I had friends, I was in a fraternity, maybe to some extent I was even popular, but in a tiny little bubble. My friends, all they really wanted to do was hang out, get high, play video games, take Adderall, just frivolous, irresponsible young adult college life. I was the only one who was very like academically inclined, just like I wanted to be successful, my whole life, but in the only ways that I knew how. So I had the resume, I was in a good college, yada yada. I dropped out. I wanted to manifest my destiny as early as 20 years old. And I was somewhat delusional. I thought that because I was confident, I think it's a manifestation of insecurity. I was an extremely insecure person. Maybe I still am an extremely insecure person, but maybe I'm just more aware and I'm willing to admit, you know. I thought I was going to be a famous DJ. I thought I was going to manifest money. Just like I thought I was desperate to believe that I had some kind of divine power and whatever I wanted was just going to come true. That is slightly delusional, right? You've never actually done anything. other than make decent grades, right? Or have some kind of intelligence or a good memory or whatever, good at taking tests. So I crashed and I burned and I failed miserably. And I was just working at this hookah bar. I was like, became super depressed. It was like I collapsed my entire friends group. I dropped out of college. We left the fraternity, you know. Um, I just felt like I was evolving and I had nothing left in common. Like I didn't want to go down this corporate path. I didn't know who I was. I joined spiritual communities. I was looking for community. It was fun, we meditated, we chanted Om, we did all these spiritual things, but it was also somewhat frivolous and I wanted more discipline. I wanted to be more responsible and I wanted to be successful and wealthy. I still wanted to feel like proud of myself. But I knew that I was lost and I knew that I was drifting and I knew that I was being irresponsible. I was still like very depressed, but always just kind of like escaping into like hanging out with people and going to events. I moved back in with my parents in San Antonio and, started working in bars. I thought I was going to be a bartender then, and be a DJ. So this like broke artist, scraping by. I had no discipline. I had no accountability. Like I wasn't even learning how to produce music or DJ. Like I was like trapped in this delusional fantasy, but like none of my actions were backing anything I was saying. I wanted to believe that I could, but maybe I was so disconnected or just like lazy or suffering. Like, I don't know. I'm very hard on myself. Oftentimes, I feel like I'm being lazy when maybe I just need healing. But how do you know? How much healing do you need? Which time off do you need? Yeah, but I'm healing the pain of this world, or I'm healing the pain of my inner child, and it's you know what I mean. It's like you can only be accountable to yourself and to God. It's hard for anybody else to know what you're going through. You're the only one that really knows what you're going through. So, anyways, like I wanted to work hard and I wanted to prove myself. I started working like multiple jobs, like 60 hours a week. Because I was living with my parents, I had like much more disposable income, not having to pay rent. I mean, easily gives you an extra, 1 or 2 grand. I spent it all frivolously. Is dating this woman. It's always going out, buying things. Um, but she was she had dated a allegedly, I think she's telling the truth, but like he was a COO of AT&T and T, and he was like super rich and had like 3 houses and kind of spoiled her like this kind of sugar baby vibe, like bought her all these like designer outfits and Rodeo Drive. And I think she was telling the truth, but I don't know. But she gave me some of his clothes and like he did have some really nice suit jackets and outfits. But when I wore his clothes, I felt this kind of crazy, ferocious energy. She recommended I go into real estate. I was 24. So I guess I'm just venting out my life story, but it seems as though that a cycle is ending and a new cycle is about to begin. And I feel this wave of transformation in me. So that's why I want to make this video. Um, anyways, like, yeah, when I left Austin, I was like sleeping in my car, like homeless, like totally depressed, miserable, working in this Indian restaurant called Bombay Bistro off of Ben White. I'm like, I slept in the alley by the Walmart parking lot right there. I would move around and I would sleep under the bridge. I found these little spots that, nobody would really bother me. Um, moved back in with my parents, worked in bars, still was like super depressed. Bit by bit, I guess I learned little things about what I wanted to improve. Like very slowly, I was making improvements, but like I hated that bars were like toxic and I didn't like having this weird nocturnal schedule. Like I wouldn't get home till like 4, closing the bar. And then, it's like the sun is rising as you're going to sleep. Like I felt just like weird. Like I wanted to have my circadian, I wanted to have like a more natural cycle. I always believed that like successful men woke up early and like there's something that you could be proud of, like waking up early and like, going to work out and like all these things, like being a responsible man, you know? Um my life has been a series of just like starting over. Every time I start over, thankfully I have actually achieved results, but it's like I just constantly keep restarting my life. Anyway, so I restarted my life at 20. Total failure, total depression, misery, smoking weed, escaping. Gradually, I don't even know how, I begin to start attracting like wealthy people and millionaires. I know that's all I was looking at on Instagram. So maybe you really do attract your subconscious imagery, but I was just on Instagram always looking at like Rolls Royces. I was still delusional enough to think that I would manifest this, Bugattis and Lamborghini, just all the things that young men idolize, guys in a suit with the cigar and the model kind of bimbo girlfriends and wives or whatever, and then all these vacations. I actually did attract a successful, girlfriend who is much older than me, so it goes from like dating a girl who's been around ultra success to now dating someone who is like much more successful, like top 5% income ish, maybe not, but like, definitely was successful and had her own like multi-level marketing team, and like, she was making at least 10-20K. She had the lifestyle, she had a nice house, you know she was also going through this kind of like midlife crisis. I was like 24, 25 at the time. Now that was my life story, I guess, in video form. But maybe I was a bad influence on her, but her friends and family and her team in her business, in her company, they're all like, what are you doing? Like she told me that she wanted to get a divorce and that she had been wanting to divorce this guy for like a really long time, and it was just become this toxic marriage. And like, I was young and arrogant, and I was just like cussed all of them out, and like I would send them all messages on her phone. Like, I was very toxic and combative, and fortunately I didn't get my ass just like handed to me, or like, threatened to violence. But I was certainly acting reckless and foolish for a lot of my younger days. I had a temper and I had a mouth, sometimes I still do. Anyways, I guess this is like reflections as I'm entering a new phase of my life. But you know, so I've been very ugly to a lot of people, and it's out of my own insecurity, that I project my emotional wounds onto others. I've lost like 70 pounds, not totally lean, but this is the leanest I've been. Still probably have like 15 more pounds, maybe 20, but I'm already like 190, 195. I've The only thing that's been consistent lately is I've still been able to cut, but you're kind of just like drained all the time. It's a draining energy. It's a low energy, but I mean, you have to be in a deficit. So the body is just always starving. But this is the leanest that I've been since I was 24 years old, 23, 24. So it's like my body is reversing in age. I mean, with my cellular memory. So I think this is why I'm remembering so much of my 22, 23-year-old self. Like, I wanted to look good on social media and I was very overweight. And so, you know, this entire metamorphosis of the past 5-10 years has been like, I want to be my dream self, my higher self. I want to have an amazing life and become like my unlimited self, as I've been wanting since I was 20. Just like having no discipline, having no structure, suffering a lot, and being toxic and venting so much anger onto others, such an angry person. Anyways, I've been following this girl, this live streamer. She's the youngest live streamer that I've followed. I've been following live streamers for like the past year and a half, but she's 22, just turned 22. And what's interesting is it all, it's not some fantasy I'm in love with her, but she's interesting and I enjoy playing it in the background, at nighttime. Maybe I am just a bit lonely, but I like streamers and I like artists and I like girls who are like doing the social media thing. So that's always been kind of my muse. Women who are kind of have a star or like a creative look, that's always been my thing. But anyways, what's interesting is my body is reversing back to when I was like 22, just in terms of my body fat percentage. I started gaining weight. I was the leanest I'd ever been when I was like 20. I dropped all the way to 165. That it was slightly kind of anorexic, but I was doing yoga, hot yoga, like 3 to 5 times a week. I was walking like a few miles a day. Like I was exercising a lot. So it's not like I was unhealthy, but moved back in with my parents. And since then, I just continuously gained weight until the apex of living in Houston like 5 years ago. I got pretty fat, man, like 260 pounds. Now I'm like 190. So that's 70 pounds. That's a lot. It took me a long time to lose this weight. Like it's been like 4 or 5 years in the making. But anyways, like I don't know. I feel like you can only really focus on one or two things at a time in life. So at that point, I was focusing on business. I was desperate to just like learn how to make money. And I did learn how to make money. And I guess it's nice to have achieved that. I had this dream where I did this job for somebody and they didn't tell me how much they're going to pay me. And then afterwards, they said $10 an hour for 10 hours. And I was like furious. And I started threatening them. It was like they wanted me to help them do this moving job, which was my last business. For some reason, I accepted it without even negotiating the pay with them. I'm like, why did you? When I woke up, I'm like, what the hell is that dream about? I would have never done that. I've been able to negotiate $100 to $200 an hour in transportation moving business. I woke up and I'm like, well, why didn't you negotiate, you retard? I don't know. That was such a weird dream. Like my poverty mindset when I was younger, did not know how to negotiate. Did not think I was worth very much. Like I had no like worth of myself. I had no self belief. Like working in restaurants and bars and just like delivering food and then doing Uber and then making a ton of money in my first business, but it didn't last very long. And then, you know, back to doing like food deliveries, DoorDash, Instacart, and then building another business up to like a multiple six-figure level. I'm such a weird person. I will like make a lot of money and then go back to like having no money. I don't know. Is it poverty mindset? I don't think I'm motivated by money. I think I'm motivated by like inspiration. So once I figured out business more or less to it, I would say a reasonably high level, like it no longer was inspiring to me. I think I just constantly chase inspiration. I don't even necessarily care that much about money. I mean, I do and I don't at the same time. I don't know. I'm a very strange person in that regard. Like I'm totally fine with like having no money at all, but at least I have a goal that I'm working on. Like I always need to have like a big goal in my life. That's my north star, and then I keep working towards that goal, right? Like up the mountain. And then once I kind of figure it out or like hit a plateau, then it's time for the next level. And for me that's social media, coaching, speaking, and I'm starting from nothing. Like I feel like I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at building an audience, social media, like, but I felt this way many times in my life and I did figure it out by force of will and just sheer determination. I paid the price. I figured it out. It's not like I'm not willing to work my ass off. I am. But anyway, so now we have to talk about healing and like energy healing. I genuinely believe that I am supposed to be some kind of like energy healer or talk about energy healing. I've had these thoughts and feelings many times in my life. And like the business version of myself or my masculine or my cynical pessimistic mind is like, that's so stupid. Energy healing, rah rah, my parents laughing at me for meditating with crystals and like thinking I'm just lost my mind, like I'm just one of those weirdos, you know wearing a wizard hat and like with my crystals, fucking, weirdo. But I've always gotten the greatest response from people on social media when I talked about healing trauma. I would try so many different content strategies on Facebook. What got me the most attention was two things. One, and the first strategy is probably not a good strategy. It's like the Andrew Tate act like a fucking moron, act like a crazy testosterone lunatic. I got a lot of views from those videos relative to, like, imagine you're making videos on Facebook, which is why would you be on Facebook? But that was my comfort zone like 5 years ago. And, those videos started taking off and becoming somewhat viral on Facebook. So I just made more of them. But it was like testosterone kind of rage bait, kind of just like Takashi 69, like being a troll. And that's not what I want to be known for. And I think it's kind of bad karma, just like picking fights with people or attacking people. But I knew that it worked and got attention and views. But I don't want to, it's like being a retarded, like punk ass. So I don't want to be that. You can say crazy, disgusting, ridiculous things for attention, and you just trigger people, and it's this crazy energy, chaotic negativity. It's toxic, right? So I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to be known for. I don't think that's good for my soul, but it did work, and I did become kind of viral doing that. I hit the Rising Creator badge. I mean, I am proud of that. Top 1% creators on Facebook get the Rising Creator badge, and I had that for a little while. I was friends with a girl who has that badge or had that badge. Has like 20,000 followers, but when you meet her in real life, it's like totally different. I'm not going to say anything about her negatively, but that was an experience of the past like couple years. But anyways, I feel like I'm supposed to heal. I feel like I'm going back to that most damaged version of myself, 20, 21, 22, in terms of my cellular memory. They say your cells have memory. So I think I do. My body still remembers what I was like when I had this kind of a body. I fully intend on getting visible abs. Like, I've never perfected my physical body. I think I will achieve that. You can only really have like one or two big goals at a time. Like, it's just impossible to give so much energy and focus to more than like one or two things at a time. That's something I've realized as I got older, but it was business and discipline. I think I've more or less mastered that. I mean, I honestly do. Could I have scaled to a seven-figure level, incorporated, have I think I could have. I think I could have done it. I think I knew what to do. I would have had to get better at running ads, but I think I would have figured that out had I kept my last business. But, it was no longer inspiring me. I have to chase my inspiration. I'm only truly like motivated by my inspiration. If I'm not feeling inspired, like I don't even care if I have to go back to living in like a studio or kind of an old apartment to like slash all my bills again. I've done this so many times. I've done this over and over and over again. Every time I've done this, I did rise and I did ascend. The first time it was going into sales and then attracting mentors and like a successful girlfriend and then living with her, you know. Then the second time it was I started my own business from nothing. I went from living in Airbnbs and just renting rooms for like bottom barrel prices in Houston, driving a beat up Camry, but I had a lot of time freedom, even driving Uber and Lyft, and then started that business. And then, I mean, Jesus Christ, I had never made that much money in my life. I felt rich for the first time. I was so arrogant. Oh my God. This girl that I'm following reminds me of myself when I was her age. She's hot. She got red hair, dyed red hair, Chinese girl. She knows she's hot. She knows she can manipulate men, which I probably have manipulated women in the past. And it's so weird. It's like looking at a hot Chinese version of myself as a female when I was that age. She's probably hotter than I ever was, and she's probably more popular than I ever was, but I see so many similarities. She has this beautiful, innocent, adorable side to her, which she's a Pisces with a Sagittarius moon sign, fire moon sign. I also have a fire moon sign. We have a mental connection. I don't give her any gifts because right now I'm like not making any money until I figure out this whole, I don't even know what I'm doing, coaching, healing. I will figure this out eventually, even if I have to go back to doing random jobs. I'm willing to pay the price. I've always been willing to pay the price, and I've always figured it out. I will figure it out again. I'm committed, but I'm in this weird limbo, purgatory. I'm having to heal all this emotional pain again, remembering how miserable and depressed I was when I was 2020. It was the worst period of my life, and I'm like remembering all of those emotions, but I feel like I'm supposed to heal that in myself and in others on social media. Some part of me just does not really want to because it's so fucking, when you open up the doors to talk about trauma, and I'm like an empath and I'm somewhat like psychic to some degree, I feel their pain, and it's so heavy to go there, to be like a therapist. I have no certifications, I have no credentials at all. It's just intuitive, but I do think I have healed a tremendous amount in myself, and I feel like I'm supposed to heal this in others. Some part of me does not want to. I don't want to. It's so uncomfortable. It's so overwhelmingly uncomfortable to take on somebody else's trauma because I know what it feels like because I was there. Excruciating emotional pain. You feel the pain in your sacrum, you feel the pain in your heart, you feel the psychosis in your third eye, like just craziness, crazy thoughts, you know. I remember what all of that was like. I've experienced like psychosis on drugs. I checked myself into a mental hospital. We're not even going to go into that. But like I've experienced every single level of like hell. What it feels like to just be so miserable. I've never wanted to, you know, end myself, but I've thought about it. But I've always wanted to live. I've always wanted to do better. There's always been a belief in myself that I could figure it out. It's just God, it's so difficult. So I felt this way when I was 20. I had no idea what I was fucking doing with my life. I got better and better jobs and then went into sales and then attracted mentors and then thought about joining their companies. People were wanting to recruit me, okay? I had a value in the fact that I was young, maybe somewhat handsome sometimes, somewhat charismatic sometimes, but God, I was so arrogant, so delusional and full of myself. It's because I was so insecure. And I see this in this girl that I'm following. Her name's Demi. People will give her compliments on TikTok. She's a live streamer on TikTok. She live streams and she dances a little bit, just has a live stream. But she's A2 rank, which is a pretty high rank. But my phone's gonna die. Let me charge my phone. I don't know if this is gonna end the video or not, but I can't even charge my phone because. Oh wait, yes I can. The charging. Okay, but people will give her compliments like you're so beautiful and you're so hot, and she'll just laugh and say, "I know," and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so arrogant." You're supposed to smile and be cute and say thank you. That's what, like, I know what you're supposed to do to play that. Asians like to have that poster version of like a perfect child, or like, in China, even in Korea and Japan, it's like the token, sweet, adorable. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be modest and innocent. Oh,. Thank you so much. But she just laughs and says, haha, I know, I'm so amazing. It's like, it's amusing because I used to act like that. I used to be like that, I was so it's insecurity to the point of arrogance because I have felt so worthless in my life. That's what it is, and I know it because I felt so mediocre in my life. But it's like you're supposed to be cute and sweet and humble. That's what they want. That's what the world wants. She's been struggling lately. I've been following her like every day because it's been interesting, at least. I don't know, for like the past couple weeks. And, you know, her engagement has tanked, and her she got in trouble on TikTok for you get random violations. Social media is annoying. Sometimes you just get random violations, even on IG, even on TikTok. They said it was for a revealing outfit, but like she wasn't wearing anything revealing that day, but sometimes she does. Anyway, so her traffic has died. She's kind of struggling. Um, it's because she plays men, and like anytime someone gives her, she'll be like super cute and like she'll reward them for spending a lot of money. And like guys have dropped like hundreds, thousands of dollars on her. Like she's gotten a lot of expensive gifts. She knows how to get the gifts, but I think she's experiencing the pendulum of karma for being arrogant and for playing people. And I think I am guilty of this too in some degree. Like I know how to charm people. I would charm women, did I really value them, or was I just using them, just being toxic and manipulative? Like I definitely have been that way, being a mooch, taking advantage of people when I was younger. But then as I was older and older, like 25 to 30, like I definitely wanted to make my own money. And like then I wanted to like take care of people. But when I was younger, like yeah, I kind of was a little bit of a mooch. And then it's like if you were more grateful and sweeter, I think you would have longer lasting support. And I think I'm giving myself advice. It's like literally like she's a mirror of myself. I think she's cute. Are we compatible? I have no idea. Some part of me thinks no, we're not. But I think uh, I'm supposed to see my reflection in her. And it's like I started a school community like 3 months ago, like in January, and I grew it extremely quickly. If success is like a rank on school, I was like really successful. I was getting a lot of new people in every day. But then, like, as I started showing more parts of my personality, I started it off very vanilla and it was just support. And I was channeling like my Libra midheaven. Like, I was being just very bubbly and nice. And that brought in people like very fast. But that wasn't exactly my true personality. As I started showing more of my true personality and like changing the direction of the group, I started losing engagement and retention. And that's normal. Like when you, from studying social media strategists, like it's called top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. It's big funnel cone shape, right? When you're vanilla or make viral content, like you will get the most support. Everybody wants community support and love and encouragement. And it was a very feminine kind of energy. But as I began showing them more of my masculine, more of my true self, talking about high ticket sales, wanting to go into coaching, like my engagement started. Now they're showing me all these fucking notifications. My engagement started dropping. You know, I was getting very frustrated because I knew that they wanted my blanket feminine kind of love support. I mean, I was getting quite a lot of engagements. That was the most engagement I had ever gotten in my life, to be totally honest. School is this kind of new app. It's kind of like just communities, but it's kind of like trying to become its own social media platform, but like Facebook groups on steroids. So it's this new thing, and then people are spending a lot of time on a new platform, hanging out, supporting each other. So it's like I became very critical and cynical and angry. I was going back to my rage bait kind of personality. But they don't like that person. Like he gets a lot of views and negative attention, but they don't like him. They don't really want to follow him. I was going back to that personality. I was just frustrated because they all wanted free support, but then like nobody was interested in me professionally. And that's the problem with being too top of funnel. In marketing, you learn like you're supposed to be ultra niche. You don't have to have a lot of followers to get business. You have to speak directly to the people that would be interested in hiring you. So it's a totally different targeting strategy and a totally different message. I did have one lady say she wanted to hire me for $2,000, but then like I don't know, she's just weird and then like totally flaked. Like I felt like she lives in LA, and I think that LA vibe of like they tell you what you want to hear and then they ghost you or flake out on you. Like that's normal, like in California and Austin, especially these kind of more blue cities. Like I know it's weird. Like they tell you what you want to hear and they try to hype you up, but then like they're totally like inconsistent and like wishy-washy. That's how I felt about California, and also how I feel about Austin to some degree. Like ghosting here is like so normal, but that's not normal in other cities. Like it's kind of disrespectful to just like, ghost someone, but here it's like normal to do. It's weird. I don't know, certain nuances of different areas. But anyway, so all of that work, and I had one, lady say she wanted to hire me and then kind of flake. And she wanted to hire me to help her like grow her Instagram or something. Like all that told me is that what people want from a coach is like visibility, and they want viral content that pulls in business. Like nobody wants to prospect, you know. I don't think people want a performance coach. I think they want a visibility coach because it's easy and they want to feel popular and it's validating. But I think the vast majority of like people that want to go into coaching, like they want to make viral content that pulls in followers and leads. Nobody wants to prospect. They only want to make content. Even though they could make more money if they prospected. And I am pretty much a master at prospecting from all of my businesses and sales. I'd say I have it down to an expert, if not masterful level, like for sure. I mean, most people have not been able to make the amount of money that I've made in such a short period of time launching a new business. So, in a way, I think I am gifted at business, but coaching is like, oh, now we move on to the next chapter of this story of coaching on social media. It is not like a traditional business at all. Traditional businesses reward you for being like very motivated, energetic, like sales and traditional businesses. It rewards assertion, masculine energy, motivation, and intensity. But social media, I find, is like the polar opposite of that. They don't want to be like hardcore salesy, they just want to like flow. And I've been criticizing that, and I've been trying to change that about people, about humanity. But I think I just have to accept that and just allow that. Okay, that's what they want. They don't want to prospect at all. They only want to make content and become more visible. So I've got to master that because that's what they want. They don't want, I could say that it's the truth. You guys are not prospecting. You guys are not building your brand. You're just drifting, half assing. Like all the things that I say about people and humanity, like it is true, but they don't like the truth. They don't like the message. I was getting so annoyed with the people in my school group because I can pretend to be like super effeminate and supportive, almost girly, and they all like it. I know they like it because I know how to charm people, but then I show them my authentic self, and some people still liked the authentic self. There are a couple guys, they did like my masculine energy, and I even attacked them because I felt like they were stuck and it was really fucking annoying me. In my masculine, they're like cheerleading for me in my masculine, being motivated and disciplined. And it's flattering to the ego, but I can tell that they are like not committed. They don't know what, you know, it's like in my masculine persona or my business self or whatever, like it's like Capricorn and Taurus energy, like it's earth energy. And it's like I know that they are just in la la land because I used to be in la la land talking all these dreams, but I was lazy, undisciplined, right? In my masculine, it is like the element of earth, and it probably is more like the sign of Capricorn, which is my north node. It's like, what are you doing, bro? If you're not disciplined and you're not working hard, then how the fuck can you ever expect to do better? And how can you be proud of yourself as a man? Like, it's a very conservative view of masculinity. It is kind of like a stoic, orthodox, very conservative. Like a man wakes up early and does a fucking good job and works his ass off and provides for his family. And if you're not doing that, then it's hard for me to respect you, right? And then younger men these days are like wanting to be in tune with their feminine and like I'm growing my hair out long, but I'm also that woo woo guy. It's like I have multiple personalities, but I'm also that spiritual, effeminate guy who's like in tune with chakras and crystals. And, it's it's weird because I'm like two different people. It's as though I have two totally different versions of myself in my soul. That's what's just so fucking weird. And then to like balance them out and find some kind, like have them be on a team instead of attacking each other. I can attack the spiritual yuppie. Maybe it's an inherited masculinity like my father or my father's, I don't know. English, Scottish, maybe it's in my DNA. Maybe I can tune into the version of myself in my DNA, which is like a man wakes up early, does the fucking job, gets the job done, brings home the bacon, takes care of his family, goes to bed early, is not frivolous and just living for his passion and senses. But that guy that I had become over the past few years was just not happy and not inspired. And so he is grumpy and has no inspiration. Like, yeah, he knows how to make money and he probably could make a lot of money and he probably has made a lot of money. Is that all you are as a man? Just discipline and a bank account? And then you like these young girls, on TikTok, but you want them to value you for more than money. And I think I have met some of these girls who are streamers, and I do think they like me for who I am outside of TikTok gifts because I don't even give them that much. I'm testing them to see like, is all you really want money and TikTok gifts? Or would there be a relationship or long term value behind the gifts? And I test them, and I think multiple girls would be interested in meeting me, like Asian girls, outside of giving them anything other than the fact that I'm interesting, I work hard, they admire like my work ethic, they like my fiery, motivated personality, right? It's like I'm having to balance out like four personalities in myself. Not like I'm a fucking crazy person, but it's like in biology, it's called a Punnett square, right? It's a 2 by 2 square. And this is like the recessive or dominant genes, right? This is the gene pool. So you have the dominant and then the recessive and then the dominant and then the recessive. So it's like masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. So square one, masculine, masculine. That's like the alpha gene, right? Four different genes. And then it's masculine, feminine. That's going to be the supportive male, like father figure support. It has an aspect of femininity in terms of it's masculine, feminine. So it's like, your dad when he was like taking care of you or being maybe even motherly, right? Then you have feminine, feminine. That's like your mother being ultra, loving and like, you being held in your mother's arms and like the pure essence of like, love from your mother. Pure feminine, right? This angelic kind of feminine, which surprisingly a lot of women and Chinese women actually embrace that. And I didn't know that for the longest time. Like there is a spirit of the Chinese woman and she is like ultra feminine, this kind of like goddess flowing, in the Orient. And I'm like really into that archetype of like the ultra feminine Asian woman. Because in America, the women are much more feminine masculine, the last one. Feminine masculine is, they want to unlock their authority. And so you see a lot of women going into like embodiment coaching and authority and confidence coaching and leadership, women wanting to be more like leaders, which is a masculine thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't uh, you know to some degree I do like masculine women. I like a woman that has a balance of both masculine and feminine energy. I see that in this girl that I'm following. For the longest time, I had been following girls who were like feminine, right? They did not have a whole lot of feminine and masculine energy. Like they're women, so they're never going to be masculine, or masculine, feminine. They're always going to be feminine, or masculine, feminine. But you could say we have the potential to be all four. A woman who is masculine, she's going to like dominate men. She's going to be very alpha. So this girl Demi has that energy, masculine. Like there is a very dominant red hair, but the way she looks in appearance is feminine. That's what's interesting about her. She has this ultra feminine, girly, big eyes, very cute. She has that energy, but she spends so much time in this like a very alpha bossy. And I think that's why she struggles, because it's like arrogant and it's like humiliating. They do these battles on TikTok and it's like humiliating your opponent. Anyways, I'm bringing her up because it's a reflection of myself in a way. I have this feminine energy of like just being spiritual and like submitting to God and just like renouncing all of my goals to be famous or popular or rich, have this dream amazing life, that in my masculine I want that like so fucking badly. I want it so badly. I will push myself to the limits to just feel proud of myself in my masculine. You know, I don't mind working 70, 80 hours or more if I can. I have, and I'm willing to work relentlessly hard to make my dream come true, right? But where I'm at right now in my life is like I feel like I'm supposed to be like more masculine feminine, or even feminine. Like I'm supposed to teach feminine energy to masculine people. Of course I have this alpha masculine energy. What the fuck are we doing with our lives? Like wake up and make something of yourself, right? Very red, but self-empowered message. I don't think that's what the world wants. Every time I channel that energy, it doesn't seem like people like him. It doesn't seem like they like him or appreciate him. He's had some success, but nothing like out of the park. No grand slam, millions of dollars in my 20s. Like, not, but it's like we also kind of hate those people who have like become so rich at such a young age. It's not relatable. It's like totally unrelatable. Oh, fuck you, man. You have this paradise life, traveling all the time, famous on social media, never had to struggle. God, in a way, we kind of hate that person like collectively. So I think I'm relatable in the fact that like I've struggled most of my life and it took me a while to achieve any kind of success. I can be proud, but it's nothing that I'm like crazy proud of. But even being proud of yourself, like I see the lie in money and pride. Like even money and pride is an illusion. I've made $200 an hour. I've made four figures to five figures in a day. I've hit some big numbers. I've burned a lot of cash. Okay, that's like a little bit of pride, but even pride alienates you because people dislike. I don't know, there's something I feel like people dislike that. Oh, good for you, fuck off. If you never had a business, you've always just had a job, always wishing that you could figure it out, and then someone does, isn't it's kind of annoying. It's not relatable. We relate to struggle and innocence and purity. So it's like I'm trying to figure out who the fuck I am like supposed to show people. Is there a supposed to? I think there is a supposed to because I meditate a lot, and the message that I always get is that you're supposed to be a healer and a spiritual guide, like a mystical guide. And then I feel like my parents would like laugh at that, or I feel like people in my high school, or like, people I used to work with in my 20s would be like, you would laugh at that. It's laughable. Like, you're going to be this cosmic energy healer, wear these crazy outfits, like a Taoist sage or Buddhist monk or something. I think that'd actually be hilarious to wear like those kind of outfits and just make these very crazy videos, very dramatic. I think that'd be actually kind of funny to make those kinds of like a Shaolin monk, or and then like I teach you what the secrets of the universe. Like, what the fuck do you know about anything? Anyways, I'm having to reconcile like all of this, like in my DNA. My ancestors, would they laugh at that, or would they think that's actually kind of amusing or peculiar or something? Like, what, you're gonna become a TikTok star? Like, what, giving Chinese wisdom? I feel like I'm supposed to move to China, like move to Asia and like spend some time there. And I feel like supposed to is like my soul inspiration, like my soul destiny. Like I'm supposed to follow my soul inspiration. Like my soul, my inspiration sometimes does talk to me and guide me, and I can validate the guidance because it did help me make money, and more money than most people have ever made. So at least there's been some material reward for following my intuition. It's not as though like I have not created. Isn't that just also like pathetic that we have to validate ourselves with like money? We have to like the validation is, well, I made money doing it, I had something to be proud of. Like why? I'm also frustrated at society that this is what we value in an influencer. Everyone on Instagram does this. They have to brag and flex. I've done 4 or 5 figures in a day. Who fucking cares? I know something about business. Like, dude, I could tell you business in literally less than 60 seconds. You work your ass off, you learn how to prospect, you generate leads, you spend all day long talking and networking to people in a similar space. You try to network, you try to share leads, you hustle all day long, you drop magnets and flyers and free advertisement and free promotions anywhere and everywhere you can. Eventually, you can build a multiple 6 figure, maybe even a 7 figure business. Oh my God. There you go. Do you need to hire me to tell you that? Like, no. Do you need to hire me to like help you be more motivated and disciplined? I think a very small percentage of people want that. I don't think most people want that. So I don't think that that's what I'm supposed to do with my social media, you know? Like, dude, I have 80 followers on Instagram. I did have an Instagram where I had like 1,000 something followers. I lost the account because I changed my phone number, and I don't even know what the email associated to that account was. They're trying to send me anyways, that was like literally my Instagram when I was like in my 20s. I lost that account, forever gone. But I did have like, okay, 1,000. I don't know. For some reason, 1,000 followers seems like okay. Well, at least you're not a fucking like nobody. Now it's 80 followers because I was on this anti Instagram kind of hiatus. I was like, I hate how fake Instagram is. Everyone just trying to pretend like you have this wonderful imaginary life. It's kind of true to some extent, but it does show you that people want to feel proud of themselves. They want to feel like they have an amazing life. although it can seem very phony, surface, and vain. Okay. Um anyways, is there anything else I want to say in this video? It's like I'm completing a loop. Maybe I'm supposed to go back to San Antonio for a little while, maybe not, but I am certainly moving out of Austin in July. I got a 3-month extension on my lease, but you know, so I borrowed money. I'm like no longer doing my other business. I'm living on that debt, trying to figure out who I am. I am getting somewhat of a response very slowly talking about trauma. Like, and that's what my intuition is telling me to do. My intuition is saying, just constantly talk about trauma in the negative sense. Like, I've been experimenting with social media strategies for a very long time. And like, I've been able to manufacture like viral posts on like Facebook. And it is a formula. The formula is like, it's a short affirmation that is kind of negative, a negative tone, and then a question, and then like very polarizing. So maybe I'll try to do that on Instagram. It would just be something like kind of controversial. It would be like a negative statement that is very controversial. And that is what people do on Instagram. It's called a verbal hook. And you put that above your head as a text, and you have that for the whole video. So I tried to experiment doing that. You want to have like a shit storm in your comment section. That is how you become viral very quickly. And so I was able to do that like on Facebook. I had screenshots of all of my viral posts, but I think I deleted them. But it would be like jarring. It would be like men are becoming more like women these days, and women are becoming more like men. Dot dot dot. It's weird, and then it would be like a emoji, like a like a confused or disgusted emoji. That post got so many fucking comments. It was insane. That's my been my most viral post of my life. It got shut down by admins. It was insane. It was like multiple people all arguing with each other. It was like a tornado of chaos. It was so much fun. I was getting so many notifications that it could not even show me how many comments the post was getting because it was happening so quickly in real time. That that was insanity. Yeah, that was fun, but I mean, so like controversy does spark virality, but you don't want to be too much of a troll, but it's like you make money doing it. So I don't know, like, I guess you should do it and then try to show them like the higher aspects of yourself. But I feel like I'm supposed to be some kind of healer and talk about healing, even though some part of me does not want to. That was the second thing that got a lot of positive response. I had many, many people coming up to me, and like I even met a few women like in real life in Austin. This was like 1 or 2 years ago. I was starting to kind of attract like groupies, like women who were like groupie type women, but like I was talking about healing trauma and loneliness. Like I've been doing this over and over and over again in my adult life, and it does work, but then like I get frustrated at it, and then I collapse it, and then I just ghost all my followers. I don't know why I keep doing this. I keep ghosting my own audience. I guess I just have to embrace that this is who I am and this is what I'm supposed to do, and like this is my tribe. I'm supposed to embrace them. I keep ghosting them. I'm ghosting myself. I'm avoiding who I'm supposed to be because I'm unhappy with that. I wish it was something else. But I can't help but feel like this is who I am supposed to become. So I keep rejecting my soul, and I'm and I'm trying to stay in my ego. I want to be like this business badass sex icon, you know, cool guy. He doesn't get any likes. He doesn't get any comments. You know, the controversy does work, but I don't. That's not what I want to be known for. It's too negative, but that is what generates virality very quickly. It's a polarizing, just crazy town. You know, it's a polarizing verbal hook if you want to be analytical. Okay, and then yeah, it's when I talk about healing and trauma, and it's the formula is the same. I remember the formula. This was the formula that was working on Facebook. I was attracting an audience. It was, and then I just ghosted. Why do I keep doing this? I build a community and then I just fucking ghost them, and then I like destroy my own support. Ugh. I don't know why I keep doing this, guys. I build support. I've done this like 4 or 5 times. I build support and I build community and then I like destroy them all. I gotta stop doing it, man. I gotta stop doing that. I guess I just keep resisting the fact that people do not want motivation and performance, really. They don't really want my masculine energy. They want my feminine masculine, soft masculine healing and talking about trauma. They want to have conversations on healing and trauma. And I'm supposed to do that and facilitate that space. And some part of me, I guess, resists or resents that. Like, that's literally what I'm fucking supposed to do. And I wish it could be more about my glorious dream life, you know? I think that's the price to manifest my dream life, if I'm honest. I feel like God talks to me or like source talks to me. And every time I followed my intuition, I did actually manifest results. I had an intuitive whisper. I was like, you can make a lot of money selling gym equipment right now during COVID. And I made a lot of money, you know, $10,000 in a day, in a fucking day. Oh, it felt so good, so validating. I don't think anybody in my family has ever made that much in a day, except for maybe my grandma in Taiwan. I have no idea what her story is. I'm very curious. Like, I think she's like pretty rich from like real estate, but my mom will not talk about her and like we have no idea. Somehow Whitepool has money. Where did it come from? Real estate. Okay, that's it. Flipped houses. I think I'm more like her than anyone else in my family, but you know, and I don't even know her. So maybe I need to go to Taiwan. She's still alive. She's like fucking 100 years old, 90 years old. I should visit her before she dies. I want to understand your life. Oh my god. Okay, well this has been now a very long video. I think that I keep resisting my own spiritual authority. I think that I know I'm supposed to facilitate healing trauma through conversation, through community. I've been learning how to be more viral, and there is a formula, and I'm figuring out the formula now on Instagram. I think I kind of did figure it out on Facebook, but then it's like I figure it out and then I just reject altogether, and then I start over again. Like, why the fuck do I keep doing this in my life? I keep doing this over and over again. Built a built a successful business, and then I don't even